The late 1980s in Florida were a time of pastel-colored motels, neon nightlife, and highways crowded with truckers and drifters. But hidden beneath this sun-soaked paradise lurked a woman who would shatter every stereotype of serial killers. Her name, Aileen Wuornos. She became known as the Damsel of Death, one of the very few female serial killers in American history and one of the most infamous. Between 1989 and 1990, Wuornos murdered 7 men, luring them with the promise of sex before killing them and stealing their possessions. Her story is not just one of violence, but also of a tortured life filled with abandonment, abuse, rage, and revenge. Aileen's life seemed cursed from the very start. Born in 1956 in Rochester, Michigan, to a teenage mother and a violent, pedophilic father who would end up in prison, her childhood was a textbook of tragedy. Abandoned by her mother at just 4 years old, Aileen and her brother were left in the care of their grandparents, but safety never came. Her grandfather was an abusive alcoholic, while her grandmother struggled with alcoholism herself. By the age of 11, Aileen was already trading sexual favors for cigarettes and food. She was raped, beaten, and discarded by nearly everyone in her orbit. By 14, she was pregnant after being sexually assaulted by a family friend. The baby was given up for adoption, and Aileen was kicked out of her house. She was homeless, surviving in the woods and living by her wits, drifting down the road to what would become a lifetime of sex work and crime. By her late teens, Aileen had begun hitchhiking across the United States. She became a drifter, living day-to-day on odd jobs, scams, theft, and prostitution. In the late 1970s, she briefly married a wealthy 69-year-old man, but the marriage quickly fell apart amid fights and her violent outbursts. Arrests followed her everywhere: disorderly conduct, car theft, armed robbery. Eventually, Aileen made her way to Florida, a place of warmth, highways, and endless opportunities for sex work. For Aileen, Florida was both the stage for her crimes and the place that would seal her fate. In 1986, at a Daytona Beach gay bar, Aileen met Tyria Moore, a hotel maid. For Aileen, this relationship was everything: her anchor, her purpose, her only shot at love. The two women moved in together, and Aileen's sex work became their means of survival. Every dollar Aileen made on the highways went to support them both. But this love story was built on desperation. As their finances crumbled, Aileen grew more erratic, and her anger toward men, fueled by a lifetime of abuse and rejection, was about to erupt into deadly violence. On November 30, 1989, electronics store owner Richard Mallory picked up Aileen hitchhiking. Hours later, his abandoned car was found, and his bullet-ridden body was discovered in the woods. He had been shot multiple times with a .22 caliber pistol. Aileen later claimed Mallory had raped her, sparking her act of self-defense. But this killing was the beginning of a pattern. Once she realized she could lure men, kill them, and steal their cars and money, she kept going. Over the next year, Wuornos embarked on a bloody spree that left 7 men dead. David Spears, a construction worker, shot 6 times. Charles Carskadden, a part-time rodeo worker, found with 9 gunshot wounds. Peter Seams, a 65-year-old retiree. His car was found, but his body was never recovered. Troy Burris, a sausage salesman, shot twice. Charles Dick Humphreys, a retired Air Force major and child abuse investigator, shot multiple times. Walter Antonio, a trucker, shot 4 times, his body dumped in the woods. Each killing followed a grim ritual. Aileen would hitch rides or approach men offering sex, then shoot them with her .22 revolver, rob them, and flee in their cars. By mid-1990, law enforcement realized they had a serial killer on their hands. Multiple counties were investigating, but the consistent use of a .22 firearm, along with eyewitnesses spotting Aileen and Tyria in the victims' cars, tied the cases together. Police found palm prints, fingerprints, and stolen items linking Wuornos to the murders. The case became a multi-agency investigation, with the press circling like vultures. The authorities were closing in, and Tyria's loyalty would soon be put to the test. In January 1991, police tracked Aileen down at a biker bar called The Last Resort, but the key to her downfall wasn't brute force, it was betrayal. Authorities leaned on Tyria Moore, who had everything to lose. Fearing prosecution, Tyria agreed to cooperate. She called Aileen repeatedly, coaxing her into confessing while police recorded the conversations. It worked. Aileen confessed to the murders, but claimed each killing was in self-defense, desperate acts against men who had tried to rape or harm her. The trial began in January 1992, and the courtroom was a media circus. Aileen, angry and defiant, stunned the jury by shouting accusations and declaring her hatred of men. Her defense of self-defense collapsed under the weight of ballistics, forensic evidence, and testimony. She was convicted of 6 murders and sentenced to death. In the years that followed, she gave erratic interviews, sometimes admitting guilt, sometimes raging against the system, claiming she killed in cold blood, and later suggesting she killed out of mercy. On October 9, 2002, Aileen Wuornos was executed by lethal injection in Florida at age 46. Her last words were chilling. "I'll be back. Like Independence Day, with Jesus, June 6th. Like the movie, Big Mother Ship and all. I'll be back." Segment 10 Legacy. The female face of serial murder Aileen Wuornos remains one of the most infamous criminals in modern history, not just for her crimes, but because she challenged the stereotype of serial killers as men. Her life raises endless debates. Was she a monster shaped by pure evil, or a victim of unspeakable abuse who turned into a killer out of rage and survival? Documentaries, books, and the Oscar-winning film Monster 2003, starring Charlize Theron, have kept her story alive. To this day, Wuornos is remembered as both a tragic figure. And a terrifying killer, America's rare female serial predator, whose violent path was written long before her first shot was fired.